Just a few days ago, there was a mass shooting in a Florida high school, and many people died, and many people were injured. And it has left us all asking, what can we do to prevent mass shootings? Is there anything we can do? And I'd like to give my own perspective on this. That's, I'm sure it's been shared before. I haven't looked up many videos about this, but I do have some perspective on mental health. And I don't think that there is nearly enough information about warning signs for somebody who might consider hurting other people. The mental stability of individuals in general is simply a topic that is still taboo to talk about. We don't really have programs in schools or easily accessible information that allows us to delve into what to look for, who we should tell if we see something strange, or if we're feeling depressed, from, I guess, the disturbed person's point of view. Who do we reach out to? How do we receive help to resolve this inner turmoil that might lead us to cause violence to others? This needs to be more readily available information. It needs to be in our public schools. It needs to be talked about more, because a lot of people slip through the cracks because they aren't either understood, or what they're experiencing isn't something that they know how to resolve, how to deal with, how to evolve past. And people who view some warning signs that's in the same school as an individual who might do something like this don't know exactly what to look for, because there's a difference between talking crap about what you're going to do and actually planning on doing it. And I think the policy should be better safe than sorry. Tell a teacher, tell an official that this person seems to have a violent, outburst from time to time, and they talk about doing this or that, or that they seem to be asking questions that are very uncomfortable and very related to anger and violence. Better safe than sorry. But I can tell you, as far as when somebody like this goes to an institution, and I have some experience with both mental illness and going into a psych ward, which basically what exists for people like this now, in varying degrees of security, of course. And I was just on, the basic level. I wasn't, higher up in the building, which is people who are really confined. But I have schizophrenia, and I didn't know anything about it for most of my life, and I was just diagnosed at 15, and I had it my whole life, and, all these problems. Nobody really knew that they were schizophrenia. My parents didn't know what to do. And when I finally went to a psychiatrist, it was like a curse had just come out of his mouth that I had schizophrenia. And there's no blood test for this. There's no definite survey that you take that says, okay, you have schizophrenia. It's all about observation and you relating your stories or what's going on with you to the doctor, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, and they have to decide, okay, what illness do you have? I mean, a psychiatrist will tell you what illness you might have. The symptoms sometimes are obviously leading in this direction as far as a diagnosis. And not everyone with mental illness, like schizophrenia, like I have, or depression, or anxiety, or any kind of illness that is physiological. It's not just as far to do with our psyche or the thoughts that we willfully follow through, but some do. And it's very important to find the signs, to learn the signs of what's the difference between somebody with a mental illness and somebody with a mental illness who's going to do something bad. Or maybe that person doesn't even have a mental illness. They're just running these thoughts through their mind and creating a psychological problem. And there is a difference between chemical, biological, and something related very much to psychology and how they were raised, what they lacked, what they lack in their life, what they feel like they're frustrated by and they can't work through. There's a difference between those two things. But I did go to a psych ward once. This was years back, my teen years. I'm 26 now. Most of my mental health issues were related to self-harm, and that was many years ago. So it's easy for me to talk about it now. But when I went to the psych ward, it was very clear that most people there weren't there and receiving true help, true aid with whatever problem they had. And there were a wide variety of problems, and there was a wide variety of people, so some of them were dangerous. But it felt like a place where you're put on ice, where you're isolated. with this group of people, and the psychiatrists don't really have the resources to truly delve into every single person like they need to. Of course, everyone meets with a psychiatrist, but there isn't as much one-on-one time as there needs to be. This is why programs, state-run programs, need to be funded for mental health, to actually figure out who is dangerous, and how to help them, and have the resources to help them. Free medication, free psychological treatment and counseling. And there's a lot of people that can just act like they're sane, or just stay quiet, and they can slip through the cracks. And it's easy for a lot of these people to just lie their way out of the psych ward. I lied my way out. I was still seeing things and hearing things when I lied my way out, but it was easy. And if I could figure out how to do it, then I'm sure somebody who was more violent could figure out how to do it. And it's incredibly hard to expect every single person with a psychological disorder to have a family that can pay for private psych wards, or that require you to pay, and even the government ones require a fee. But there needs to be basically free psych wards that people can check themselves into when they're having these thoughts and seek help, free medication, things like that. And they need to be all over the nation, and there needs to be information about what to look for, and really how to treat people, how to be kind to people, and how to really realize when somebody has a problem and trying to seek to help them, or if it's bad enough, report them if they seem to be violent, if they seem to be planning something violent. Because there's a wide range of kinds of people that have mental illness, and there is a difference between, like I said, the chemical and biological factor, and the influence of not nature but nurture, and usually the lack of nurture in the lives of a lot of these people who do the shootings. It's such a long road to actually finding a solution, a real tangible solution that we can say, okay, by next year there's going to be so many less shootings because we figured it out. But this is just one element of the solution to mass shootings. And as somebody who was in this psychiatric system, I guess you could say, and went through it, I don't envy doctors, because it's very hard to figure out what's going through a person's head if they're not open, if they're not willing to tell them, and if they don't trust a psychiatrist, if they think that, okay, they're going to keep me here longer if I tell them the wrong things. And it's human nature to want to get out. A lot of people check themselves in, but there's always that part of you that wants to get out, and from experience, it doesn't feel like a lot of healing goes on, even in the state-run ones, which are actually, a lot of them are better, because a lot of the private ones that are run by corporations, they have an interest of keeping you there, and they will give their psychiatrists incentives to basically make sure you stay there for as long as possible so they can rake in the money from the family. And there needs to be reform as far as that goes, but it's a slightly different issue. But it isn't an easy solution, and it won't be easy to institute information campaigns in schools across the nation about what to look for, and basically how to treat somebody, so that they don't. There's no justifiable reason that somebody should or would ever have to commit a mass shooting, but there can be factors that can be easily done just being nice to even the people who we consider as losers. But as far as looking for a real solution and not just being just consumed with rage about it, these are some of the ways that I think that we can prevent future mass shootings from happening. There needs to be state funding, and there needs to be pushes for information campaigns. And at one time, sexually transmitted diseases were taboo to talk about. Now there's more sexual education, and these sexual diseases are known about now. It needs to be that way with mental illness as well, because I think that it's still taboo, like sexually transmitted diseases were, to speak about mental illness and to truly look into it, and to get away from the idea that anybody with mental illness is crazy, and to get away from the idea that anybody with mental illness is dangerous. It's very important to decipher which kind of mental illness nature this person has, any individual has. But what we can do just as an individual, what can we do as just me or you, just as individuals? Be nice to everybody. It never hurts, and it'll make you more productive in your life, more productive spiritually and emotionally, and you'll work towards a better you. And the more likely people that you feel, might be dangerous or might be really weird and you want to stay away from them, just be nice to them. You don't have to, force talking to them. Just be nice to them. And the more love that we spread around, the more that will be spread around. And who knows, the seeds that we lay down may sprout fruit and prevent a lot of the pain that these kind of things cause. I think that this guy should be prosecuted. I think that he should go away forever. As far as the death penalty, that's another conversation, but he should definitely not see the light of day again, and he should definitely be in a very high security prison. I don't feel anywhere near as sorry for him as I do the victims, of course, who did nothing to get shot. I think that this man is a terrible person, and I don't even know if he has a mental illness per se, or if he's created these thoughts in his head and come to these conclusions and not dealt with anger and decided to take it out on everybody else. I don't know which side of the spectrum he is, but whatever side of the spectrum he is, this is not excusable, and he should be put away for life. And I think that's true with any mass shooter. I mean, they shouldn't be given another chance to go out there and kill or hurt anybody else, because this is a lot of people impacted and a lot of pain caused. But anyway, that's all I really have to say about it. This has been a few of my ideas about how we can prevent mass shootings, and none of these ideas are solid or foolproof, but I just wanted to give my perspective. I thought that I do have some perspective on mental illness and psychiatric institutions and things like that. But feel free to do your own research. You can find all the information that you really need online if you look for it, and never forget to keep your eyes open. And if you find yourself in one of these situations, all I know is that I would try to help as many people as possible, and I'd probably try to take down the gunman. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend anything that I would do to anybody else, but it would be a hard situation to be in, and it's just really hard to know what to do. And it's a shame that this happened, and I hope it never happens again. I really do. But keep them in your thoughts and prayers, all the people affected by this, and all those that have passed away now after being killed. And try to think about this and figure out what your ideas about solutions are. I'll talk to y'all soon.